Welcome back to Time Grimes Games, and I'm here with another Star Wars Destiny spoiler video. Faltering Allegiance is coming out in, looks like 8 days, 2 hours, 42 minutes from the recording of this video. Pretty exciting moment for Star Wars Destiny as we see what happens when the Continuing Committee, I believe that's what they're calling themselves, puts out a full set of cards with some new mechanics, new cool stuff going on. Hopefully they'll be well received by the community. They look pretty cool so far, so I thought we've got a bunch more that have come out, and I'll go ahead and review some. Also, look who got some spoilers himself. That's right. I've got my own set of spoilers. They'll be coming out Monday. Does that mean I know what I'm talking about now? No, it does not. It does not mean I've studied the new rotation or something. I'm still a clueless guy looking at cards in a vacuum, having some fun. So that's where we're at still. Let's take a look at some cards. All right, so we got the second sister. That's cool for those Rebels fans out there. I'm a big fan of the sister and the brother. That's cool. Die looks awful. Like, worst die I've ever seen almost. Cool. After you activate this character, turn an opponent's die to a symbol showing on one of this character's character dice. Not totally sold on this ability. I've never been a big fan of cards and abilities that turned opponents' dice. I mean, it's nice. Like, your opponent rolls out that 3. You don't have to play the removal right away. You can just activate her, flip the die, but then inevitably they re-roll it to the great side for very small cost. If they're going to re-roll other dice anyway, then it's a very small cost to re-roll that die as well. So I've just never thought that was all that powerful of an ability. So far this incredibly weak die with this incredibly weak ability has me thinking maybe we're not onto something here. But this special something else. Turn another one of your character dice to any side and resolve it, increasing its value by 1 or 2 instead of it showing the same symbol as an opponent's die. So that's pretty strong, right? Like, if you are pairing this with another melee character, your opponent has a melee character, you get to do this ability, turn one of your dice to, say, a 3 side and resolve it for 5. I mean, that's pretty good. The thing is, you are having to give up your die to do it, so it has to be pretty good. Another amazing thing would seem to be turn it to a resource when your opponent's die is showing a resource and get 3 resources. I think I would usually pay 2 dice for 3 resources early in the game, and then late in the game you're getting 5 damage, conceivably. So, I don't know. To be honest, this character seems pretty weak to me. I'm now understanding the way we are displaying this. It's going to be hard to see the cost. This is a 1013. 1013's pretty cheap. Like, I don't think this is strong enough to run as a 4-die 3 character deck at 10. This feels pretty weak, and 2 dice feels weak also. I don't know. This card just feels weak to me. I don't know. I like the design. I think it's cool. It's just a whole bunch of effects that I don't love. Like, the die is terrible. I don't like the effect, the turn. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe turn has just become more powerful over the years, but I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. All right. Unending Hate. For 1 cost event, spot a Sith or Inquisitor to turn an opponent's die to a side showing a blank and deal damage to a character equal to the number of dice in that opponent's pool showing a blank. So I just said, not a fan of turning opponents' dice. But I am a fan of direct damage effects. So this is essentially pay 1, turn an opponent's die to a blank, and do a damage. Now, of course, you're going to have a deck where you're building it around Sith or Inquisitors, but I think that's probably pretty easy if you're playing this card. So the question is it good enough to pay 1 to do a damage and turn a die to a blank? I think definitely no. So then it's like, is it good enough to do 2 damage that way? And I think that's a maybe. I think that kind of depends on, like, how much direct damage can your deck do? I don't know the card pool well enough. Every time I've thought, like, yeah, here we go. This is going to be a direct damage deck, and I put all the direct damage cards in. It's never enough. They've tested well enough, and it's never been quite enough to make it good enough. So my assumption is that this also will be sort of unplayable But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't like. I've heard transformation Anakin Vader does a lot of damage really quick. I've never played with the card, to be honest. I don't know what it says. So maybe with that, but I don't. I don't love this card. Sith Warblade is interesting. If it's a 3-cost weapon, this is what I've always been trained to think. If it's a 3-cost weapon, it either needs to be one of two things: totally absurdly broken, or have redeploy and be really good. So it has redeploy. That's good. And it also looks pretty good. A 2, a 3, plus 4 for $1. These are all good sides. Now, before you resolve it, you got to deal damage to the character it's on. I don't know. I would have to see the other weapons. I was looking through the weapons to sort of, with another card we'll be looking at in a moment here, FN, and there aren't that great of weapons that are redeploy. So my guess is this is a 2 of in a lot of decks. That's my assumption. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that damage is just too much to make it playable, but it feels really strong to me. And here is the card where I was looking for weapons. We've got a new version of FN. This isn't the old FN that was completely broken and made FFG have to change the rules of the game to fix him. No, this is a new FN. He also is a 10-13, and he only has 9 health. So that's not that great. Like a 10-13 with only 9 health is not wonderful. His die is mediocre. A 0 is not good. It's like almost 2 blanks. A 1 melee is not good, so we're really looking at like the 2 and then the 3 for $1. I've always felt that side was a bit awkward on guys, so this die's not great. After setup, you may look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal a weapon, and add it to your hand. That's pretty good, I guess. Like, you now have a weapon in your hand automatically, so that's cool. Power action, roll a die and a weapon on this character into your pool and resolve if able, otherwise remove it. So when I first saw him, my initial gut reaction was he seems quite good. That power action looks really strong. Looking through the weapons, less convinced of that. Also, his health is so low that I really feel like for him to be good, there have to be a certain amount of viable redeploy weapons that work with his ability. I think his die is not good enough to make him the guy you want to pay 13 for. So I think my gut tells me he's in a 3-wide deck with 4 dice at 10 cost. But that's not a very good deck. Like, you need to get some really good weapons because he's going to die right away. So you need to be able to basically turn 1, put a redeploy weapon on him, use the power action, get value, then roll him out. Hopefully have him not die turn 1. Turn 2, like, put another redeploy weapon on him, do the power action, roll him out again, and then have all the redeploys move over when they kill him. If you get all of that to work perfectly, I feel like he's, like, viable-ish, but I just think he's not that great. Like, if he had, like, 11 health, that would be different, because then you could really lean more heavily into that strategy. If there were more better redeploy weapons with sides that make his power action great, that's something. But I don't think this is a guy you can put like a really good 3-cost weapon on because of the power action and have him die and have it not at redeploy. Like, I just don't think that's viable at all. So, does that Sith Warblade make him more viable? Maybe. I don't even remember though. Did that thing say blue only? No, it did not. Okay, that's good. So I don't know. Probably not going to be that good, but interesting. Oh, 0 cost event. I like it already. Exposing Disloyalty. Look at 2 random cards in your opponent's hand. Then, if those cards do not share a color, discard 1 of them. This card seems terrible to me. Here's why. I feel like this is going to benefit somebody who really knows opponent's deck well, that they would know what cards to pull if they got the opportunity to. The problem is, if you know your opponent's deck that well, just getting information about your opponent's hand isn't going to do that much for you. Like, you already know what's in their hand, right? You know the archetypes. You know based on the evolution of the turn exactly what cards your opponent has in their hand, or within a very small margin of error, So the actual information side of it is not helpful, and I feel like there's a lot of times when it's not going to hit. Like I imagine there's a number of mono blue decks still floating around. I mean, like if the meta shifts into a meta where there's lots of 3-color decks or something, and that's like the main meta deck, then I could see this targeting that deck. But even then, like you don't even get to choose a card in your opponent's hand. Like if it said something like choose, like see your opponent's hand or something, and then do this thing, and then choose any card in their hand to get rid of, that's different. But like you're choosing 2 random cards in their hand, and you maybe get to discard one of them. I don't know. This card seems like total trash to me, but could be wrong. TIE Striker. Let's see what do we got here. 4/3, a vehicle. I guess okay sides. I don't know. That doesn't look great to me. Action: if an opponent activated a vehicle during the last turn this round, you may discard another card from your hand to play this vehicle for free. Wow, okay. After the upkeep phase begins, discard this support unless you discard the top 4 cards of your deck. Wow, that is a wild, terrible sounding effect. Like, I mean, that's great, but your opponent has to be playing a vehicle deck. So, to me, this is like one of those cards where if you're in a vehicle-heavy meta, this card seems fine. If you're not, it seems pretty awful to me. I'm really not sure how punishing discarding the top 4 cards of your deck is. When I played, there weren't that many decks that felt that punishing, like self-mill. Like if you were playing a Dooku deck or something, that would be a real challenge, but I don't know. I mean, and then of course when mill was big, but I imagine FFG nerfed that to the ground because people hate mill decks. So I'm guessing this is not really all that playable outside of a meta that shifts to heavy vehicles, which is totally possible. All right, there are more. Let's see. Here we go. There was an article today put out by the Continuation Committee, I believe, and it's all weapons. So this should be interesting. So we've got FN's Riot Baton. I can only assume, since it's 3 costs, it has redeploy, just like it used to. It doesn't. And the dice aren't good. So it better have bonkers text. Let's take a look. After attached trooper takes damage, you may exhaust this upgrade to roll this die into your pool and resolve it if able, otherwise remove it. That does not sound great, to be honest. So you have to like hold this character back until they take damage, so they're not going to damage them right away. They don't need to damage them right away because guess what? It doesn't have redeploy. Okay. Deal 3 damage to a non-unique character or remove a unique character's character or upgrade die. I mean, that's fine. Like, that would be... A lot of these cards that they release seem like they are really polarizing effects. Like, in their best case scenario, they're quite good. In their worst case scenario, they're total trash. I just cannot imagine a world in which I pay 3 for this card. Like, that's a lot. That is a lot. Like, having the ability to remove a die, that's fine, but you have to give up your Riot Baton die that you paid 3 for. So that better be a heck of a good die that you're removing. Also, by the way, it has to be a... Oh, no, okay, it's character or upgrade, so that's good. But it has to go on a trooper. I don't know. This card seems terrible to me. All right, Taren's Lightsaber. 3 cost. Again, immediately looking for redeploy at 3 cost. No redeploy. Okay. It has a decent size, though. 2 2s, a +2, a 2 shield as well. While this upgrade is on this dude, your copies of it are non-unique. Okay. After you play this upgrade, remove all shields from a character. 3 or more shields removed this way, deal 1 damage to that character. So that's pretty good. So it's basically doing 3 direct damage against a shielded character just coming in, and then it has pretty decent sides also. Again, my history with the game says this is not a playable card, really, because it's not a broken effect. It's another one of these highly polarizing situational effects. In a meta that's heavy shields, then yeah, this seems pretty reasonable. You drop this weapon when there's not a shielded up character, it feels like a terrible play to me. Like this is not one of those weapons where you're like, yeah, no, this is worth the 3 cost. I don't see it. I don't see this being all that playable. All right, Cal Kestis' Lightsaber. Well, that's expensive. 3 cost, no redeploy, damage side costing money, shield side costing money. Who would ever want to resolve that side? Okay. Power action must be bananas, is all I can say. If this upgrade is on Cal, turn this die to any side. If this die is not showing damage, you may roll a set-aside copy of this die into your pool. Set that die aside. So, you... If it's on Cal, so you roll your die out. You roll Cal out. You power action this die to turn it to 1 shield. You then get another copy of this die, and you resolve that and the 1 shield. That is not a lot of effect for 3 cost. I'm just gonna say and that's only if it's on Cal. Again, it doesn't have redeploy and it doesn't seem broken to me. Now the turn it to any side is pretty reasonable. Like every time if it's on Cal, you get to just flip it to the 2 damage, which is good. Like that's good. If it was a 3, then I think it would be worth it. At 2, I doubt it. The +3 side is super dangerous because then they just remove, the other one. If it was like turn it to any side and resolve it, I think then it would be worth it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is a good card. I think again at 3 it just really needs to be bananas. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe like I'm saying this about every card, so maybe that's just a new 3 cost weapon, and maybe 2 cost weapons are just worse than they used to be. And people will look at this and be like, no, this is a really legit thing for 3. If one of these sides was a resource, like if that like especially if the 2 shield was 1 resource instead, and I could like flip it to a resource and then roll in another die, then it's sort of paying for itself. And at that point, I think it would be a viable card. And I have to imagine that this committee thought carefully about that and then was just kind of like, now it's too good, right? Like they probably tested a version of that and then they're like, this is too much. It basically pays for itself and now you have this great upgrade. I don't think it's all that playable. But again, I may just be totally misevaluating weapons. Here we go. We've got our first 2 cost weapon. Huzzah. Alright. A 2 cost weapon? Yeah, it's reasonable size, right? You've got a 2 damage just like your goal is with Cal. You've got a +2 instead of a +3. Okay, fine. You got the 1 damage. That's not great, but at least it's 2 damage sides. So I'd say this die is fine for a 2 cost weapon. I'm already excited about it. Doesn't have redeploy. That's fine. Discard this upgrade from play if you control Cal Kestis' Lightsaber. Okay. I don't think that's going to happen very often. While this upgrade is on this dude, it has redeploy. Holy smokes. Okay, there's a reason to play this dude I've never heard of. I assume he must be from the game. What is it called? Is it called Jedi Outcast? I don't remember, but it looks cool. Power action. Discard this upgrade from play to play Cal Kestis' Lightsaber from your hand unattached character for free. Okay, so that actually I feel like makes Cal Kestis' Lightsaber a lot more reasonable. So you're able to play this lightsaber, resolve its die, roll it in, resolve its die, then put Cal's lightsaber over the top of it, or don't roll it in, put Cal's lightsaber over the top of it. I don't know. This is kind of a cool combination, actually. That so you put it on Jaro, it has redeploy, you don't overwrite it until it moves to the next guy because they want to kill him. You put enough weapons on him, make him the target. They have to kill him. Then you move it over. Then you upgrade it for free. I mean, are you really going to hold Cal Kestis' lightsaber in your hand while that comes together? Probably not. So then you're hoping to draw it later. I don't know. It's an interesting combination. I like the design space of that. They they took what is a pretty mediocre lightsaber at 3 and made it so it's kind of 2 now, I guess. I don't know. I think probably, to be perfectly honest, probably you play this lightsaber, especially if you're playing Jaro, and then you just don't play Cal Kestis' lightsaber. That's kind of my guess. We'll see. Another 3-coster. But good news, it has redeploy and the sides are fine. I think this is maybe playable. Let's see the action. Resolve this die showing range damage, increase its value by 1. If this upgrade is on Cassian, that damage is unblockable. Okay. That's pretty good, actually. So it's a 3. It does 3. It's a 2 and a 3 side now. That it's unblockable when it's on Cassian for 3. I don't know. That seems reasonable. I don't know if it's great. I'd have to really look at all the other weapons. But this is not a like, psh, doesn't have redeploy, it's too expensive weapon. This is redeploy, decent sides, 3. Seems reasonable. Uh-oh. 3 costs, no redeploy. Oh boy, we're back in the danger zone. And it's red character only. This effect must be great. After you play this upgrade, notice. Choose and do 1 or 2 if it's on Jin. Roll this die into your pool. Resolve one of your dice. Activate a character. I'm going to assume what you can't do is play it on Jin, choose 2, activate the character, and then resolve one of those dice that you just rolled. I'm assuming, and I might be wrong, that you would have to like choose these 2 things simultaneously. So you'd have to choose to resolve one of the dice on the table and then choose to activate a character. But I don't know. That's an interesting dilemma. Maybe it is you're choosing to resolve a dice, but you're choosing that die later. Because that would change things dramatically. If you could play this on Jin, roll her, resolve a die on her or anyone else. That'd be kind of cool. Not on Jin? I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. You get to play it, roll the die in your pool immediately, then you're going to get it back. But it's only the first turn you get it twice. It's 3 cost. It doesn't have redeploy. So, I don't know. Is this a broken ability? It's a good ability. I'll say that. It's a good ability. The dice are solid. I'm not sure it's good enough. I think that's got to be the tough point of making Destiny cards. Is like, you can't make all the 3-cost weapons redeploy, right? It would just be kind of a boring game if every weapon had redeploy. And then when they don't, you have to flirt with, like, how busted can we make this card? It's tough. That's a tough one. All right, we got Saw's rocket launcher. Okay. 1,000,000 plus sides. And they're indirect, which isn't great. It's only 2. The die cannot modify other dice. Well, must be something going on then, right? Because that would be a pointless card. Power action. Resolve this die against yourself. What now? As if it were not showing a modifier. Then deal indirect damage to an opponent equal to the number of damaged characters you can spot plus 1. Huh. That sounds awful to me. Because you're only... Wait. Deal indirect damage. Yeah, you're still only dealing indirect. So basically, this die, you're just you paid 2 for the opportunity to trade indirect damage with your opponent, and it is probably a worse trade for you. Because unless you have... Like, if you have 3 characters on the board, then the 4 is a push. This card seems awful. I like the design space of it. It's really neat. It looks terrible to me. Now, remember, when I played, the most characters you could get was 3. So, like, I think there's, like, super cheap Ewoks and nonsense. So, I don't know what the numbers you can get. If you can get, like, 7 dudes and then get an 8, it's indirect, though, and then they just kill that guy. So, I don't know. This card seems bad. Okay, well, that's all the spoilers. I feel like if I think all of the weapons are bad, my guess is I don't know how to evaluate weapons anymore. That's just going to be my guess, that is a me issue, and that I don't really understand how weapons are working. Because it's like, the weapons I remember, like there was the lightsaber, I mean, what, the ancient lightsaber or something, the 2-cost redeploy, that, how did it work? Like you got it back from your deck or something somehow. It was just like, all the weapons were like 2-cost, pretty good redeploy weapons. That was like the baseline. And then there was a couple of 3-1 you'd play. Like the Riot Baton was really good because it had a broken ability, and Maul's lightsaber was good because it had a broken ability. And like Kylo's lightsaber was pretty good because it had a pretty good ability. And so I just feel like none of these, well, very few of these weapons are really measuring up to those standards. So I'd be curious to know in the comments if you think, yeah, the weapons have just changed and the power level has come down on them and these weapons are good and you are wrong, or if you agree with me that these weapons just look like they're a little bit safe. Like they're interesting, they're polarizing, but they're not going to see a lot of play. So we'll see. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned soon. Monday. It'll be Spoiler Monday. See you next time. Tiny Grams Games.